Always loving local music right here on Informanté Radio. It's the morning mix. Good morning. Welcome to the show. Sally Boss, Madame, and Don Kamati. This one is titled Center. It's lifted off the album My Black. And that's how we say good morning to you. 16 past 8. Moromeria.
Morning.
How's you?
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have my earphones on. Good.
Mm-hmm. Day 4? Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yes,
Saturday
day 4.
was day 1, 2, 3, or 4. Day 4.
Day 4 of the lockdown. How has it been so far?
It's not really a lockdown. Is it? We're here in studio. But yeah, it's been good.
You've been coping? What did you get up to over the weekend?
I've got school assignments. In fact, that's what I'm going to get to after this.
Oh, you've got school work to do, lucky you.
Got school work to do.
That's a very nice way to keep busy and to keep yourself from going crazy.
I actually wish Yunam would give us a break, but anyway.
If you get a break, do you also want to graduate only next year?
Whenever. I just give us a break.
Because if you get a break, then the studies are prolonged for an extra year, and I'm sure you don't want that.
Yeah, I think my issue is just they've made, obviously they put everything online, but it's such a, how would I say, it's again based on the assumption that everybody has
access
number one,
to
a
the
laptop,
internet, yeah.
Number 2 has access to internet wherever they are. It's obviously from a privilege, and lastly, they also just didn't make it user friendly. For whatever reason, I spent a really good portion of my day yesterday trying to figure stuff out, and if I can't understand it fully, I dread to think what other people might be going through.
Some people will be going through.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Studying online. I guess that's the world we are living in now with the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Speaking of COVID-19, there are no new reported cases as of yesterday. We are still standing at 11.
Yeah, we're still on 11, but that's not always a good thing.
Yeah.
I like to remind people.
Like I saw, like yesterday on the news, the 8 o'clock news, they said that we had tested about 213.
Well, that's more
people.
than when we reported this over the weekend. I think Friday, we had just tested 57 or something.
Yeah, and I saw even in the New Era this morning a statement from the health minister, Mr. Shangula, that we've tested about 40 people.
Yeah, that's what that was the figure we had from NIP.
Yeah,
I think that was on Friday. Was he said 57? Now, as long as your testing rates are low, and by the way, 57 is a joke.
It is.
Like, let's be clear, it is a huge.
I was thinking, imagine South Africa is standing at 1,328 cases this morning with 3 deaths. But that means they have tested
in excess of 10.
Yeah, probably in excess of 10,000 people already.
Yes.
We are at, like, let's say 50.
Yeah, in some countries, 57 is what they test in an hour.
Exactly.
Or more. So no, it's laughable. And there's that toll-free number that people dial, and based on social media, everything I've read from everybody that has attempted to dial that number is that they didn't get tested. So they're only testing people that have traveled or people that have come into contact with somebody that has tested positive. Do you understand what that means? You have to prove that, like, for example, if you've been identified that you've tested positive.
But they're not even letting us know who tested positive, so I can't tell you who I came into contact with. Yeah,
but assuming that's what I'm saying, it's complicated because that's also on the assumption that you know that this person is positive. Let's say your friend tells you, I'm positive, and you are in contact with them, and you call that number, you will get tested. But you would have to now provide the name of the person, and they would have to check their database and confirm. So that's the first thing. And then number 2, if you've traveled. Yeah. But it's funny because the thing is now moving domestically.
Yes.
So how are you using that as kind of the yardstick to decide who should get tested
and not?
So our testing rates are too low that it's not, for us to be stuck at 11, it's not a good thing because we know realistically we're not on 11.
We're not on 11.
We could even be in excess of 100.
I mean, if we are testing right, and because if we are not testing adequately, and there are so many reported cases from abroad of people who test positive but are showing no symptoms.
Yeah.
So that means the lockdown at the end of the day is sort of ineffective because you lock people in their houses and then after 21 days people come out and continue spreading the virus because we're not getting tested even now that we're at home.
Yeah, but I think, I wouldn't say it's useless. The lockdown is to contain it. You understand. You don't want it to, if it's festering,
yes,
you want it to stay indoor. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
That's how you recover.
Yes.
So the lockdown is essentially for that.
But the recovery is not the same period for everybody.
Yeah,
some people recover
yes, but it's
much
mostly,
quicker.
yes.
Some people, it lingers for a while before they actually fight it off.
Yeah, essentially some people fight it faster.
Yeah.
But generally it is 14 days.
14 days is generally what it takes before the symptoms start showing up.
Even recovery.
No, recovery, some people stay in hospital for much longer. There's, for instance, even the guys who have, especially the acute symptoms who are
yes,
on the respirators
yes, but I'm
and
talking
stuff.
about in cases when you are healthy, generally healthy.
Yeah.
And I've been following a lot of diaries. So people that in other countries that have tested positive, so what they do now, they start a diary. So day 1, these are my symptoms. Day 2, this is what happened. Day 3.
Yeah.
And also to help you what to do in those moments. And a lot of them by day 9, 10,
the symptoms
they
start
could actually
up.
go out into their gardens.
Yeah.
Or get a bit of sense of I'm now recovering, because
Yes.
I think the hardest time is day 6, 7, somewhere there where it hits you where you really can't breathe. And I did find apparently this vaporizing thing does work. So if you put warm water in a shower and you sit, that actually apparently does really help. I've seen it as advice, but it was interesting to read people that have done it while sick.
What they were saying
yes,
about it, yeah.
and yes, and over 90% of people can recover in their houses. By the way, you don't need. It's only in cases where you do have other ailments or you really cannot breathe.
Yeah,
then you need the machine,
the ventilators. Yeah.
the ventilator. But generally, you can recover in your house.
Yeah, okay, I understand that is it's better than that way that if you get sick at home and hopefully recover before you start mingling with others. But then if you're not even testing and you don't know where the virus is or where the virus has been, it's a bit difficult.
Yeah, going into this, we said that we're ill-equipped. There's never been a question about that. I think people get excited when they're like, I would feel better if I knew, for example, we were in the 50s or in the 60s of positive cases. I would feel better because that's, for me at least, it would seem more a realistic number.
Realistic, but we've only tested 50.
Yeah, exactly. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, no?
It's a difficult situation. And of course, there are ripple effects. I hear the tourism industry who are probably the hardest hit. Luckily, of course, this is generally low season for tourists in Namibia, it's not that big of a hit. Of course, depending on how long the crisis persists, we will see how it goes. But then one
Shine.
Xylem! Your camera fell. Alright, we're just gonna continue with the show like nothing happened, guys. Ooh, I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say about this. Okay, is it still recording now?
Yeah, it's live.
You should see what happened on my screen now. Alright guys, so one of larger issues, I saw it on one of the local dailies this morning, was that the Hilton Hotel has forced all of its employees to go on unpaid leave.
For 2 months, can you believe it? April and March, I think. March and April.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just flagging businesses that are not treating the staff right.
Yeah.
So far, I flagged West Air because of their retrenchments. I've flagged Hilton for forcing people to go on unpaid leave for 2 months. Inhumane. And these are people that live paycheck to paycheck.
Yes.
And thirdly, I flagged Lady Pohamba,
The hospital.
for apparently they had a positive case, and they, without informing the ministry, just dropped the patient at Katutura and left. So, yeah. So, I'm really, and we all should, I think, start looking at businesses that are not treating people correct. I don't want to talk too much about the Hilton couple, but that's a wealthy family.
And the ladies in Parliament, no?
Yes. So it's you're not gonna be able to, like, what is the point for me when you, and I think this thing is gonna expose a lot of people and their character, when you constantly bragging about job creation and you're doing this and you're doing this for the country and you're trying to make things better, and then you tell me you actually don't have contingency plans in place for things like this.
Yeah.
What if there was a fire at the hotel? Just an example. And you needed 2 months to
get the
do the
operation back.
renovations
Yes.
that you needed.
Yeah.
Would you have done the same thing?
Everybody goes on unpaid
Everybody
leave.
just, you understand. How don't you have plans in place?
Yeah.
It's really exposing people, and it's a sad reality. But we should be very, very cautious.
And for somebody who's sitting in Parliament, especially, for me that is just it's just baffling.
I don't even, for me the Parliament is, the fact that she's an MP is neither here nor there for me, because it's like, what do I expect from my MPs? Not too much. I think it's just the principles. What?
No, what do you expect from your MPs? That's what
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's more the principle in this. And like I said, it's not based on what we see. It's not a poor family by any means.
The DB9.
Yeah,
That
I mean, in
Martin,
other sectors as well. So if you can't pull resources together to ensure that, you treat people humanely. And it's so funny how they put that letter, confidential, HR confidential, because they don't want it to go out.
Yeah.
Come on.
So I'm actually interested to see how this one develops, because I saw the Labour Ministry was advising the employees to talk to their unions first before the ministry can step in. The union
But not everybody has a union representative.
Exactly. The union should try and sort out the issue with the hotel first, I guess, before it becomes a thing of the ministry getting involved.
I mean, the Ministry of Labour put out a statement saying that nobody should lose their jobs during this time, because you still need that workforce after Corona.
Yeah.
But so they're not retrenching; they're just putting people on unpaid leave.
Yeah, on unpaid leave. Yeah.
Also, goes against labour laws. You can't force people to take unpaid leave.
2 months, go. I'm not paying you. It's like, but how am I gonna, survive? How am I gonna pay my bills? How am I gonna do all these things?
It's very, very, very inhumane.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay. The one thing that of course is flourishing right now is long distance relationships.
They really are, though.
So it's interesting, Mary. Like, for instance, you are in a long distance relationship, right? So I guess it's no different now than it has been before. Now that you guys are in lockdown,
it's even better because now we have more time
to just sit there and talk to each other on the phone. Yeah. Okay, so you'll be FaceTiming the whole day. Don't you get like tired or your data finishes?
Well, the data is not. I can't speak for other people, but data is not an issue for me.
Yeah,
there's Wi-Fi at home. But do I get tired? No, I don't, because I actually like the person I'm with. Okay, I find him interesting.
Okay.
But I think, there's a book called Love in the Time of Cholera. And I like to joke, I'm like, how's love in the time of Corona?
Yeah.
How are people managing? I think it's something else when you live together, right? Then it's easy. You see each other, you're stuck there. And even living together is tricky, because if you're not used to seeing each other, I think people are also revealing themselves.
Yeah.
Because
if you're not used to spending that much time locked up together, it is not easy.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think people that are in distance relationship, maybe I had the foresight to know that this is what I need right now. And the people that are doing distance are good. You text each other, you see each other, you face up. Yesterday we did the sunset together. Well, not me. You were showing me the sunset.
Yeah.
On FaceTime. It's funny how technology is. But yeah, this is where we are.
That's the world we're living in these days, guys.
That's the world we live in.
All right. Let me read a couple of comments. Yesterday, they really did run away from us because they were just overwhelming. Shines, I hope you've got your big boy pants on. Liz Leroux, if you didn't get that, then you're not going to get it today. Paulus Kunduka. All right. Good morning, guys. COVID-19 case increased. Stay at home. Okay. Lizzie Leroux. I think government should lower the tax because the way I see it, that the people need it more than the government, all right? They do steal our money, so why not just lower the tax in order to help the businesses to pay their people, right? The government is inhumane, I think is the word. Tax revenue is probably the biggest income for any government in the world.
Yeah, and
right?
we need it for other things.
Yes, so all this stimulus packages that they are probably going to have to come up with to help people pay their rent, to help families survive and be able to buy food, and to help subsidize some companies.
Yeah, and other people have been asking for a break, just
a tax break,
a rent break.
Yeah, that's what I want also. I want a rent break.
A rent break.
Like I've been looking at my landlord's number in my phone the whole time. I'm like, hey, I should call this guy.
Will you really kick me out during Corona?
And it's like, where am I gonna go? It's locked. I can't even get out of it. Theo Univet, morning, guys. Some domestic workers are still going to work in some towns. These ladies are exposed to white kids and relatives that come back from South Africa. After work, they go back home and stay with their family. This is highly risky and concerning.
What does the racial element have to do with it?
I have no idea. It's not my opinion, it's Theo's. but it is one of those things that we're asking, like, so domestic workers are considered an essential service, or why are they still working?
There's even a bigger issue brewing in SA that I read, and it was posted by a health worker. Apparently a lot of domestic workers, I think just before lockdown, had been coming in large numbers to the hospital asking to be tested because apparently the madam of the house has told them that they can only work if they are tested. So they would have to prove that they are negative.
But then where do they
be able to come to work and earn an income? So they were now going to the hospital asking to be tested for COVID, not because they suspect they have it, but because it was a requirement to continue working and they needed the money. It's like, what are we doing to ourselves? Like, where is the humanity in that? It's disgusting what we do sometimes.
Yeah, and that is a highly unregulated industry.
It is. It isn't. It really, really isn't regulated. Some people are paying their domestic workers $200 for a week. Others are paying $200 per hour. Some are paying $200 for the day.
Yeah.
Some are paying $200 for the month. So
it's crazy. And then you still want to take that little bit of money out of this person's hand.
Yeah.
Oh, Makwa van Makwa is saying, my girlfriend dumped me because I refused to see her until coronavirus is gone. That was a stupid smart move.
Is it see her physically or?
I guess. But like Jade data, you can then stream the show. So obviously you can also highlight her more. So
exactly. People are using excuses now.
Ephraim Shilongo, I'm not sure it will be proper at the moment to test everybody for corona. We do not have the capacity. It does not make sense in public health. When it comes to disclosing personal identity of people tested positive, you cannot do that constitutionally and legally.
I agree. Right? Nobody's saying nobody's saying it. I don't agree with the calls to make
people's identity
public because even in China they were able to fight it without ever revealing patients' names. But also
everywhere in the world.
Everywhere in the world it's being done without revealing names. But also, secondly, Namibians have a tendency to turn things into a stigma.
Yes.
So it's just a matter of time before the corona becomes a stigma if your name is attached to it.
It already is.
Yes. It's like, ooh,
coronavirus.
And even 2 months later, people are still staying away from you. You fully recovered, but because you had the corona, like that stigma is attached.
But you know, one of the things that I see they're doing now in Europe, they are trying to ramp up the testing, especially in the countries that were not so hard hit. Or that haven't been so hard hit yet. They're trying to test everybody because they are noticing some people had the virus and recovered, which means they have developed almost some sort of immunity.
Like antibody?
Yeah, the body has created antibodies.
Yeah, and also to say, yes, I understand people are saying, we don't have capacity to test, and that's fine. But that is literally what WHO has been saying. To fight this, you need to test. You need to keep testing. There's no other real way of fighting it. If people don't know that they have it, how are they protecting others and themselves from it? So yes, to say, well, we don't have capacity, yes, I understand, but we need to make a plan. Otherwise, we're not really fighting.
That is one of the plans we should be making. We can't just say we cannot and this manetsua. No. We need to be ramping up a capacity. Like, imagine, like, in cases like, I guess one of our saving grace is that even our metropolitan areas are not so heavily packed. Like, you don't get situations where you have like 4 or 5 million people in the same city.
Yes.
So,
we have open spaces.
Yes, we have a lot of open space. But still, everywhere around the world that is really being hit with the coronavirus, they're trying to figure out what other sites they can use as either treatment centers for corona or as temporary housing for patients with other issues because the hospitals are overrun.
Yes, we're doing that as well. But this is the funny thing. I see we've identified some areas, like in the north has identified some places like this house that Chico gave it. So 10 bedrooms. They've turned the Ngwadiva Trade Fair Center into a facility, and everybody's. Ondangwa has also identified a youth center. Otapi has identified a place as well, and even here in Windhoek, Chico donated, I think, a piece of land that we can set up tents, and that can be an isolation. And so people identify. But what's the point? You still need beds, and you still need ventilators.
The schools are closed. We can go get the beds in the hostels.
Well, I guess so, but then the ventilators?
The ventilators are not coming. So if you need a ventilator, I don't know.
Yeah, so we'll see.
I don't know. Yeah. Merson Sharpley, right? Lady Pohamba just dropped a positive person on Katutura Hospital, I'm assuming, eh?
Yeah. That's what I was talking about.
Very, very true. The issue of money over lives is exposed. Yes. People are thinking about how much money they can make instead of really trying to band together and try and curb the spread of the virus together.
Yeah.
The whole studio is dark.
Is that us?
No, that's, I think...
is it when the thing fell?
When the camera got a little case of coronavirus. Rui Alfonso, it doesn't matter if you are asymptomatic, you can still pass the virus. Yes, that's the case that we were trying to make. That's why you need to test everybody, because even people with no symptoms, because we make that mistake of thinking that only people with the symptoms, people who are coughing, that dry cough and so on, can pass on the virus. But somebody can look as healthy as me and be walking around here just dropping coronavirus everywhere I go.
And an incubation period has been known to last for as long as 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're healthy for those 3 weeks anyway, but you're just passing it around.
Sometimes the Namibian lady in the UK, she said her symptoms lasted for just about 24 hours. Her husband has been much iller than her, but she experienced symptoms for about 1 day, and then after that she was fine. So
everybody has.
But that does not necessarily mean that she only got the virus on that day. She could have had it for like a week and a half before that without showing any symptoms, and obviously could have passed it on if they had not been in quarantine. All right. Kanjero Z-Man, morning guys. How's your beer delivery business going, Mr. Z-Man? Apparently he's delivering beers in the north for $50 each. It's his business now while people are on lockdown. Mutatio Castons, goeiemorgen. Maria, Moro Cubase. Mora Mr. Carstens, Shirix Shambeni. Morning, guys. What do you think we as a nation should take from this crisis to ensure we are better prepared should we find ourselves in a similar situation, economic, health, and social?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of elements. I mean, and obviously I'm speaking from a privileged place. I don't want to speak for the poor because their needs will obviously be different. I think,
but as a nation, like
yes, well, I think first of all, just like on the economy, we're a capitalist system.
Yeah.
So this will really force businesses to relook at their model, especially during crises, the crisis management model, to ensure that when things like this happen, that there is money to pay staff, that you can still continue operating. All right. So on the capitalist system, that's one way. On the humanity side, I hate the fact that it took coronavirus to reconnect a lot of water taps. This is a country that is still battling hepatitis E, and where water is also essential in fighting hepatitis E. But we didn't care for that, and we still have hepatitis E.
Yeah, it's still here.
It's still here,
and
it has killed more people.
It has become endemic now to Namibia.
Yes.
That means it's always going to be here.
Yes, and so we didn't even win the hepatitis E battle.
Yeah.
But municipalities and local authorities were closing taps.
Yeah.
And I'm especially talking in townships where that water is required. Imagine water, an essential. It's survival. You can't live without water, right? But somehow it's okay to close taps because people can't pay bills. What happened to working out something? You understand? So
it's interesting because on the flip side of the coin, the municipalities also have their bills that they need to pay.
I understand that.
And you hear the numbers of some of these guys. Some of these guys, they owe like Nam Water like 19 million. This municipality owes Nam Water 50 million.
I understand that municipalities and local authorities have bills to pay, but that's why government needs to step in here and say, how can we make provisions for water for people that can't afford it? And there are people that quite literally cannot afford water.
You think we should adopt some form of socialism then? Instead of the capitalist world?
I think the countries that are, if we look at countries that are doing well, like Scandinavian countries, like Finland or Sweden or Denmark, it's not that they're completely socialist. They just found a good balance between capitalism and socialism. One extreme, I don't necessarily think like just a socialist society will have its problems.
Yes.
And just a capitalist will as well.
Yeah.
The trick is really finding that balance, and we do. The social element is really the humanity element of any society. How do we make sure like this provision? It's like how we made education for free, which is great, but how do we ensure that it's a quality education while it's free? It's like making water free for people that can't afford it, but how do we make sure that, for example, there's no abuse for people that can afford it? So we really have to find mechanisms to kind of make this work for us.
I mean, maybe like educating our population better. I mean, you look at a country which was considered like a dictatorship, but that also had elements of socialism. Like I'm talking about Libya, Gaddafi's Libya.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Gaddafi's Libya was the most prosperous country in Africa.
In Africa, they didn't have any external debts.
Education was free, health was free. And we're talking about quality. When I say free, please, guys, I'm not, because we tend to think everything that's free is of a lower grade.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
quality education, quality health system.
We had educated people, like especially in the health sector, educated doctors, nurses.
Some doctors which they were educating themselves. Yes. That's how good their education system was.
The universities were top notch.
Yes.
And then they had social safety nets. This was the Libya under Gaddafi. But yeah.
Like some of my Libyan friends say today, they can't recognize the country.
Yeah, some of them are never going back. They've said it. It's like it's not home anymore.
It's completely something else. So maybe it's a conversation to be had, and at some point. Makwa van Makwa saying, morning, King and Queen.
Morning.
Royalty. I like that. Beef. Ngololo. What kind of name is that, Beef? What did Beef say? Beef says, I'm listening. right? And watching, I hope, not just listening. LM Nakatila Angula, Cubase, don't touch your mouth. Morning crew. When did I touch my mouth?
Maybe you did, I haven't seen.
Okay. Cristiano Denzel Kambwa saying, Yeluta omupolo meme. What does that mean?
Read it properly again.
Yelutha or ta? I don't know, it's TH.
Yelutha is like pickup?
Yelutha omupolo.
Oh, omupolo.
Yeah.
Is it for you?
I don't know.
Right.
It just says Yeluta omupolo meme. How is it, guys?
Oh, it's me. He's talking to me.
Okay. Okay, Maria is going to Yelutha her omupolo. What's the news for today? I guess it's the same as every day.
Wait, we would like to actually can we get some suggestions? What would you like us to talk about? Because unfortunately, this show is about unpacking the news, and the news is corona.
It's just coronavirus, and we're also getting tired of talking about coronavirus.
Yeah, and it will be coronavirus. Yes. So yes, what would you guys like us to talk about?
For an hour every morning, over an hour actually.
We can switch it up, but yeah. I would very much like to hear from the listeners on that, so that we're not, sounding repetitive every day.
Yes, and especially because our news sources, when it comes to coronavirus, they don't tend to get their wires tangled also from time to time. So the information is not coming out as fast, or maybe it's not coming in as fast as we would like it to.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's going to sound a bit repetitive. And Kaloi Shumbwa jumping straight into it saying, fish rod.
Yeah, fish. What about fish rod?
Forgot about fish rod.
Like the courts are closed.
You know what has really been impressing me just watching the corona virus coverage around the world, the way President Ramaphosa is handling the situation in South Africa. He whenever he's speaking, he's clear, he's concise, he has the information, and it's like I don't want to. Let me just say I've been. Yes, I've just been impressed with the way President Ramaphosa has been handling it.
And another interesting thing that I saw on the news, the punishment that is being meted out against those that are breaking the lockdown rules. Did you see that?
Mm-mm.
So the military is on the streets, right? And if they find crowds, they disperse, whatever. But this is how they punish them. They make them do stuff like push-ups, what is this froggy thing?
They're pulling Kalahari.
They humiliate them, basically.
Kalahari desert moves. That was Operation Kalahari desert moves.
They're not fining them, they're not arresting them, and they're not physically violating them, which is great. Those are the three things I would be very concerned about.
But you're going to
what they're doing is they would be forced. It's like a boot camp.
Yeah.
Like they would make them do. I saw some were rolling in the sand. They're made to roll. Some were doing push-ups.
Army training.
Others were doing army training. And people film it and they laugh. Like everybody that is filming it is laughing because it is funny to watch men being forced to do stuff like this. I'll show you the video afterwards. But I thought, it's. Sometimes as inhumane as it is, it really is a better alternative.
I mean...
there has to be some consequences for breaking the law.
Exactly. You would probably rather do that than have to go sit in a cell.
Or get brutalized, or pay a heavy penalty.
A heavy fine,
yeah.
I saw the Italians have dispatched helicopters flying around to make sure that everybody stays at home.
And I see Italy has, since they have become strict with their measures. I think 2 days ago it was reported that in one day they had over 700 recoveries in one day, where they had to
people
release
who are getting
people
better,
that had all recovered in one day. So it's starting, the narrative is switching now. The 700 was the deaths, now it's the recoveries.
I think the curve has started to max out and it's going to start declining pretty soon.
Yes. And that's also just because they're taking a little bit more draconian measures now.
Yes. And it's the same, I guess, for the States as well. Yeah. Most of the places are still, nobody has reached their peak yet. The cases are still increasing, and of course they're trying to ramp up their testing, like everyone else in the world.
I mean, kudos for us for not having any deaths. I mean, Angola, a neighboring country, reported corona at least a week after us, and they already have 2 deaths. And okay, Botswana now has cases. I knew it wouldn't last forever, but they have cases now, and more deaths in South Africa. I mean, DRC is just hectic, but yeah, it's. I guess it's still something to celebrate, even though we're doing low testing. The fact that we still haven't recorded any deaths, let us hold on to that hope, and that we do have 2 recoveries. Yeah. So
and really. Like Africa in general, we should really, really work to stem the spread of this virus, because of the whole world, we are the least equipped to deal with this kind of crisis. Our healthcare systems are imagine a highly populated country like Nigeria, for instance. If you've got a virus like this running rampant in a city like Lagos, it's chaos.
What is the figures for Nigeria, by the way?
That's actually a good question. Let me check out some more comments.
Yeah, check out while I find out.
Lamek Konjashili Timotheus, I heard that there in SA, couple that tested positive for COVID-19 and sneak in here, and they are still on the loose. There are rumors like that everywhere. Everybody's creating their own rumors.
No, this one was actually the South African that came in. This was actually on the news. That's a fact.
And they are on the loose.
Well, I don't know about on the loose, but yeah. Nigeria,
but how did they sneak into the country if our borders are locked?
No, they didn't. They flew in. They went to the coast. It's a couple.
They flew, but the only airport that is still open is Hosea Kutako, no?
Yes, they flew in.
To Hosea Kutako?
Yeah, they flew into the country. They didn't sneak in. They flew in from South Africa. This is before those flights were completely suspended.
Yeah.
So they flew into the country, they went to Swakopmund, and they tested positive. Nigeria, is on 121 active, 2 deceased, and 8 recoveries. Still, I'm not very convincing numbers, considering it's Nigeria and the population there. So it's almost like, come on. So you're not going to tell me South Africa is in excess of 1,000
in
cases.
Nigeria is 100.
And in Nigeria, you only have 121 cases. And no. And they say 8 recoveries.
It's a serious. Chantal David Hendrikse says, put COVID-19 on hold and let's talk about beautiful places in the world. Where have you been before? Unfortunately, I can't go back because there's coronavirus now. Anyway. We're going to talk about beautiful places. Maria, what's the most beautiful place you've ever visited?
Is that what they want to talk about? I have plenty.
Just for interest's sake. It's going to be something that we touch on, I guess, as the lockdown continues. We're only in day 4. By yesterday, Nigeria recorded 1 death, says Makwa Estomich. Given the virus has been there for some time, how do you know that people dying during these days are natural causes or from the virus? Right?
Because you're not just gonna faint and die.
Yeah, most families can't afford an autopsy.
Yeah, but nobody's just gonna faint and die. If obviously you have the symptoms like a dry cough and all these things, and you eventually die from that. There are specific symptoms that eventually then lead to a death. You're not just waking up dead.
You don't go from healthy to dead.
Yeah, to dead, yes. Like you died in your sleep.
Yeah, there's a little period there that's going to show everybody that it's probably that COVID-19. COVID-19 sounds so gangster. Tenswell Roy Nasi. Let's talk about Namibians' ability to prepare for corona. Global manufacturers are struggling to keep up with demand by the medical services. Why are we as Namibia not stockpiling medical equipment and resources? Stockpiling them from where, my dear? Or my bro. Not my dear, my bro. Because here's the thing, our manufacturing industry, to begin with, is minuscule. Yeah, that's the right word. It's minuscule. We don't like a lot of the things that we consume in Namibia. Probably over 70% of everything that you consume on a day-to-day basis is manufactured outside our borders. So I don't think we're going to go from not manufacturing almost nothing to manufacturing our own health equipment and stuff like that overnight, especially during a period of crisis, because China is not going to send you any engineers to come help you set up the equipment. America is not going to send you anybody. Everybody is focused on the crisis at home. Because the crisis is everywhere at the moment. But it is obviously something worth looking into. It's not an idea without merit at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jolly Makabanyani. And are you not impressed by our own president? Not even a little bit. Estomich Schmestad, with the virus, you can test negative and later test positive. So be safe and don't let your guard down, thinking, I will wait for the health minister to come up with new numbers, right? That's the worst thing to do. As I said before, no country will ever know how many are infected unless there are symptoms. Talk about those cases that went good. Some people have recovered from the virus, and that's great.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably going to be something that we look into in trying to talk to one or two of the people that have recovered from the virus.
Well, we might be those recovery cases because, I mean, it's predicted that eventually at some point all of us will catch the corona.
It's like the flu.
Yeah.
No flu season when it comes around, influenza.
Yeah.
Everybody gets it.
Everybody's going to get it.
Not all at the same time, but we all get it.
Yeah, I think during this period, this is what most people perhaps don't understand, is like, it's also to give us grace period because there are scientists that are fighting to find a cure. And once there is a cure, life can continue because if you catch it, you go to the hospital, you get your shot, and you're good, right?
Yeah. I mean, if we get the vaccine, you get the cure, I mean, then we can start even, what do they call it? Immunization.
Yes.
Immunizing our kids. So their bodies can sort of create the antibodies to fight the coronavirus should they ever pick it up anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, John Shombe saying, we had even forgotten about fish rot. No. Let's talk about fish rot.
Like I said, even with fish rot, what are we going to say? I mean, I think the court case is due in April. I don't know if that's going to happen with the way coronavirus is going. I mean, but there's... Yeah, I guess it's kind of a good time for the fish rot because everybody's quite... we are too focused on the corona, but Namibians don't forget.
Yeah, this is the time that they should go apply for bail because nobody is going to care. Tomildo Tangwe Nahole says, government owes city of Windhoek more than what all the residents owe, all right? The elders should just give the youth a chance to lead and manage this country. We are getting old.
Well, it's a very interesting perspective.
But it's interesting though because when you say government owes the city, where are you getting those specs from?
I think it's talking about agencies, ministries, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like I could understand probably rentals and stuff like that,
and
water bills and
no, there are water bills that are unpaid. It is true. Like for example, the Ministry of Education owes a lot in water.
Escola.
Yeah, Paniscola, and all these other places, all these other ministries. It's not... Yeah, and it's usually in the millions. It's not small change.
It's interesting. Good morning to you all from Zelna M. Jonker. Shirix saying, Maria, we are a mixed system country. It's just we're failing on the right implementation.
How did we conclude that we are mixed?
I think he's talking about the capitalism and socialism.
But I'm saying, what about this country makes it a socialist system? It's a willing buyer, willing seller system. That's a capitalist. That's capitalist to its core.
I think we
don't have social safety nets, really.
We are more a mix between... Okay, no, never mind.
Yeah, if you're talking about free education, that doesn't make us necessarily a socialist system.
Besides, former education minister told you that free education was a political ploy to get votes. It didn't come out of my mouth, came out of hers. Makwa van Makwa, in Africa, 9 countries didn't record any single case yet. Hands up there. Is it because they're not testing anybody?
You saw that joke I told you, right?
Come on,
Mama, why have you tested? What is the formula? You have 0 cases in your country. Please, Mr. President, tell us what is the formula. And the guy said it's very simple. We don't have testing equipment.
So we have 0 cases because we don't have testing equipment. Interesting. Gisela Tits Santos. I do enjoy listening to you, but can the really articulate young lady stop fiddling with her cell phone, taking selfies? Ooh,
No.
Maria, were you taking
That
selfies?
was no, I wasn't taking selfies.
Oh, Bronwyn Besson and goeiemôre BBB. Welcome to the morning. mix.
So what if I was?
Taking selfies.
Yeah,
Oh,
it doesn't bother you.
Dakome.
Yeah,
Gertrude Mwahi, Maria, I like your sense of human. You have a lot of common with me, or a lot in common with me.
Oh yes, I like to be funny.
Let me see. You guys have a lot in common. Paulus Kunduka, this coronavirus affects our relationship, girl situation. It's difficult. You must not dump us.
Oh, and the other thing that also came out, it's actually very sad now that we're talking about what's happening in the household. They've actually reported a peak in domestic violence.
That is something we sort of predicted.
Yes.
Here
So
on
it's
the
like
show,
on the
even.
streets, the crime has declined. On the streets, like robberies, armed robberies, whatever.
But these criminals are now in the house.
Yeah, but look, armed robbers are not necessarily your abusers either. This is to say they're at home is, you know what I mean? A lot of these men...
Because they walk out that aggression when they're out robbing other
I don't
people.
I actually tend to think it's not general. I don't think it's necessarily the same people. It's usually abusive men that are usually professionals, but now they're stuck at home with their families and their wives, and and they're taking out their aggression because you're stuck and you're confined in one space for a very long time. Like I said, I don't necessarily think the criminals are now doing the crime in the house. No, it's people that you wouldn't expect to be doing this generally.
Tita Gea Mohammed saying, since Erongo Red and municipality is closed in Swakopmund, are we still going to pay rent? Can you guys please explain how it works? That is actually one of those things that is up in the air at the moment. It seems like probably the sensible thing to do is for everybody to go on holiday, paying holiday. Hint, hint. But I guess that is something that you're going to have to, at the moment, probably discuss and agree with your landlord yourself, because government has not really put any measures or has not given a directive as to what should happen with this case. I know there are probably going to be discussions with banks and stuff, depending on how long the crisis persists.
It's also, look, as much as we don't want to pay rent, our landlords are not getting tax, breaks either.
Yeah.
So that landlord still has to
pay the bond at the bank.
Bond.
Yeah.
Yes, there is lower interest rates and whatever, but they still have to pay that bond. So unless they get a break, we can't catch a break.
Sam Vieira is saying this coronavirus make us to stay at home and fighting with our wives because we are not used to it.
Exactly, that's what's happening. That's the domestic violence we are seeing.
Margaret Extian McCoon, is that how you say that surname? Here in the States, we are not allowed to evict renters, not renters, from our units if they do not pay rent, and we can defer mortgage payments for 3 months. The U.S. government is paying out checks to its citizens.
Oh, please, I would welcome that.
I think they said between 1,200 and 2,800. That's how much they're between 1,002 and 2008.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
We need systems like that. That's the social element I'm talking about.
Yeah. Just a touch of socialism. Morning crew, it's very important to respect the workers. For them, it's hard to survive out there. For the owners, it's better because we have institutions like banks that have decided not debit accounts. All right, we should do the same too, especially you guys, sometimes you're writing, especially if your workers have been productive. As much as I'm hit too, I notified my workers that they will respect half of their employees, I guess, in 3 months' time. At least transport industry, which is on lockdown too, it's not right humanity.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, like let's look at a hotel setup like the Hilton. During lockdown, right? Nobody's coming in, so you're not getting guests, right? But that means also you are saving on water.
Yeah.
You're saving on electricity.
Operational expenses,
food, all those, right? So you're saving on operational costs, but you are willing to, what should perhaps the money that would come in from the visitors would pay the staff, right? But ultimately, what you're saying is you want to keep your profit margins.
Yeah. They want to transfer whatever losses that they could possibly incur to the employees, which is unfair.
Yes, exactly. So you're punishing the employees, but while you continue to live comfortably. Because like I said, your operational costs are down. So there should be the scale is balancing in your favor. So you have no operational cost, but now you also don't have like staff, like salaries that you have to pay. What are you doing?
I'm ripping people off. You see, that's the problem. Even with the huge stimulus package that the U.S. Senate passed, right? They had that same issue, like, because we don't want to give money and then it ends up helping the wrong people. Because look, for instance, in the case like of Hilton, right? So then they go, no, we took a hit. We need help. We need this much money. We need this much money. We need this much money. And you give them that money. But then what do? They have situations where the employees are sent on unpaid leave. So the money that you give them is not necessarily there to supplement or to help the employees, but to help the owners who are already rich. Yes. Let's face it.
Yeah.
So basically, that is one of those things that I guess we will have to look at if we start having those discussions here.
And it's so, sorry, I'm going to go on, but like it brings me back to a video that Meme Bason, Namujebo posted on her Twitter. So she was in the gym and she saw this lady, and I think they had a conversation. So she took out her phone and I think she asked the lady to repeat what she was saying. And this lady on camera starts talking. She's speaking Oshibambo, but she starts saying, "Thank you so much for helping my daughter find a job. My daughter, we were really struggling. My daughter couldn't get a job till she started working for you, and now she can support her family, and we're so grateful for you and what you do for this community," and so forth. And she posted this. It was in the gym, I think Virgin Active, and she posted this video. And I thought, my goodness, but now you're sending people off for 2 months without salaries that you know for a fact families depend on. These are not just people that are earning for themselves, they're earning for their families.
Yes.
So what are you doing? That's essentially living not 1 month. For every one person you don't pay, it's essentially 6 to 7 mouths that are going to go without.
That are going to go without, yes.
Those are the statistics.
They're not thinking about that. They're thinking about their profit margins, like you said.
Sad.
Capital as well.
Flagged.
Yeah.
We are flagging businesses.
I anyway didn't think you guys were a 5-star hotel to start with. You're like Barambira. Where have you gotten warm beer at a 5-star hotel? Substandard. Yoram's Nadilu. Someone tweeted from prison. Send us a screenshot.
Oh no!
Who has a smartphone in prison?
it's what had happened is somebody changed their handle on Twitter to Tate Mike. He just changed his handle, and then people are like, "Oh, Tate Mike is tweeting from," and because the account was obviously I think it was registered in 2015. So people are like, "Oh, it's not a new account." No, the person changed their handle.
Their handle, yeah, which is something that you can do on Twitter.
The grammar is even better for mine.
I know I can't say that Mike has good grammar, but anyway.
Morning, guys. Were the NDF given a mandate to humiliate citizens if they don't comply with regulations of the state of emergency declaration? No, they were not given the mandate to humiliate you, but they can arrest you. Would you rather they arrest you or make you do a few push-ups?
Yes, that's what
I mean, nobody is saying they should do a few push-ups, but then once you...
What would you look? You are breaking a law.
Yes, you are breaking a law.
What would you rather do? Would you rather be arrested? Would you rather be fined? Or in worst case, where you have this power dynamics, they'll beat you.
Yes.
What would you? Okay, let's even remove the beating.
But the police did say over and over again, even like all the conferences that they were holding, even the ministers that the police have been given the authority to use coercive measures.
Yeah.
That is a nice way of saying skop and donor. But coercive measures to get you to comply.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just follow the rules, guys. What is so difficult? What is so
You
swag?
can't nag about doing push-ups if you are breaking the law. So don't break the law, you won't do push-ups.
Gisela Tits Santos, talking about domestic crime, consider the alcoholics, and in my opinion, alcoholism is an illness and cannot be cured just like that. But now prohibiting the selling of alcohol, does that include the bottle stores and supermarkets? Because the alcoholic is going to become even more aggressive at home if he cannot have his drink.
So must we pacify them and give them alcohol?
Kama, a flippant, we can stay sober for 21 days by a minister is really not aiding the situation for the affected.
Yes, maybe it's time we look at ourselves and realize that we are a nation of alcohol abusers. We are.
Yes, we are. And there are a lot of people who have a serious problem with alcohol. And obviously, I mean, I get the point that you're trying to make, because now you are locking these people in the houses with their families, with their spouses, without their calming drug, I guess.
But here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
It's that argument would only make sense if we're saying that once they are intoxicated, they're not aggressive. But
yeah.
we know that actually a lot of the aggression comes from
the alcohol.
In fact, another health worker in South Africa posted that apparently since this coronavirus, they have seen a decline in the trauma unit. I think the emergency unit, that on weekends it's usually at a peak, and that's generally because people are brought in with stab wounds or injuries or rape or whatever. The day he tweeted this, he was like, "It's actually empty. I've been working here for 4 or 5 years.
I've never seen
it empty."
Yeah.
So he said there is, fundamentally, we see that the problem is alcohol.
It is a problem. All right. Vixen Hangula is asking, am I really breaking the law if I am sitting, if I'm sitting and braaiing inside my own yard? I guess it depends on how many people you're sitting and braaiing with.
Yeah. If you have guests over for the braai, you are breaking the law. But if you're having a braai for the family that stays in the house,
it's just you guys at home,
braai,
you decide you want to braai,
Yeah.
and your yachts, and you're doing your sedang. That is fine.
yeah, you can even drink your beer there if you have one. It's fine. Nobody cares.
When you start inviting your neighbors and the neighbors and so on, then we're starting to have a problem. Yeah. All right. I guess that's all the comments I have for today. Maybe we chip out.
That's our time.
Yeah, that's our time. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Maria is only going to be back on Thursday.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is Nebel, who's going to be joining me in the studio. And we're going to try and super glue the camera to the stand this time. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of the Tuesday. Silent.
Ciao.
Stay woke, boy.